Hey, listen!
Welcome everyone, this is Andre's Restart, and today I would like to talk about how the Nintendo Switch 2 will definitely have better graphics than the PlayStation 4. And the reason I'm talking about this particular subject today is because there has been a series of, let's call them leaks, from the Microsoft vs. FTC battle where a lot of redacted documentation is coming out and a lot of information about what's going on with Microsoft and their internal plans and other companies is getting out there. But the funny part is that a lot of this stuff has been leaking out for months already. It just seems to be happening to a greater degree now. But an article that was circulating yesterday is from The Verge, talking about how the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be about as powerful as a PS4 and an Xbox One in terms of performance. That's the basic headline. And what I find funny about this is that this article comes out September 18th, but we've basically known exactly this from this summer. Here's this article, June 28th. Bobby Kotick says Switch successor will be closer to Xbox One and PS4 performance. It's from the same redacted email. So that's why I just think this is kind of odd that people are talking about this again. I guess maybe the imagery of the email is now circulating so we can actually see the email. We see the email is actually from, I'll show you. The email's right here. From December 1st, 2022. And you can see a lot of it's redacted here. So Nintendo and Activision have been communicating since 2022 about Nintendo Switch 2. But the basic point here is that Switch 2, from this conversation, is being suggested to be within the realm of PlayStation 4 Xbox One. But context matters, because this is all talking about, can the next generation system have Call of Duty? Because that's what the whole legal battle was about Nintendo having this 10-year contract with Microsoft to get Call of Duty, and they thought it was a farce or something to that effect. So that's why this information was brought up. It was talking about that, yeah, Switch 2 will likely be able to play Call of Duty, because from what we discussed with Nintendo, it should be in that ballpark. But if you read through, they also say that they don't actually have the specs yet. So I thought it was important to talk about this, because I think some people are seeing some of these headlines going around and thinking that, oh, so Switch 2 is about as powerful as a PS4 and Xbox One. Huh, that doesn't sound right compared to all the other rumors we've been hearing. I just want to kind of clear up what's going on, because Switch 2 graphics will be better than PS4, and that's what we're focusing on today. But before going forward, let me point out that we are aiming to hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you do enjoy my content, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. With your help, it just might be possible. So to put it quite simply, we have a decent amount of information suggesting that Switch 2 is going to have a visual impact that will be better than previous generation consoles, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Now, I'm going to clarify that in terms of raw performance, teraflops and all of that, it may not be literally better. But I think what's kind of funny about this is that video game consoles, computers, they use technology to render an image that we see, that we perceive. It's ultimately about our perception. Games create an imagery where we can see a world that we can enjoy, explore, and play in. So, to me, what actually matters is what I'm going to refer to as the visual impact of a game or system, not the raw numbers behind it necessarily. So with that said, we have a number of different articles reporting different things. For example, we have this rumor that Nintendo Switch 2 dev kits can run Final Fantasy VII Remake as well as the PlayStation 5 does. Now, this may seem kind of crazy. Does this mean that the Nintendo Switch 2 is as powerful as a PS5 and not as powerful as a PS4? Doesn't that seem a bit contradictory? Except you have to consider what Final Fantasy VII Remake is. Final Fantasy VII Remake came out on PlayStation 4. There was simply a visual upgrade and enhancement for PlayStation 5. So the idea of Switch 2 running Final Fantasy VII Remake as well as PlayStation 5, all that means is that it's able to run Final Fantasy VII Remake a PS4 game with some visual enhancements. It doesn't mean it's as powerful as PS5, because that 7 remake upgrade is not pushing PS5 in the slightest. But what it does imply is that the visual impact of Switch 2 will surpass the visual impact of PlayStation 4. But then we also have reports from Video Games Chronicle and Eurogamer that there are these tech demos that were at Gamescom that were meant to showcase what the Nintendo Switch 2 could hypothetically do. So the suggestion being that there is like a PC running the same spec range to accomplish what was being shown. And one of those tech demos included Breath of the Wild running at 4K 60 frames per second, as opposed to the 900p we see on Switch at 30 frames per second. And there were no load times at all during this tech demo, which is a dramatic improvement. It doesn't really give us much to compare to PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, but it is a dramatic improvement. And at the very least, the lack of no load times suggests that they have done something to greatly reduce that, very much like current generation systems, PS5 and the Xbox Series. Maybe there's some sort of really nice solid-state drive in the Switch 2. But the other tech demo is the Matrix demo, the Unreal Engine 5 tech demo using the Matrix series to showcase some dramatically improved visuals. And this tech demo was used to showcase PlayStation 5 a while back. Except what's really interesting here is that what we're hearing is that this tech demo to showcases what the Switch 2 can do was actually showcasing ray tracing, if not at the same level, potentially even better than PlayStation 5. That's what we're hearing. And for the sake of clarity, the details about no load times during the Breath of the Wild tech demo and the improved ray tracing during the Unreal Engine 5 tech demo have come from the Nate Paid podcast that will also be linked in the description below, but the rest of the reports come from Eurogamer and Video Games Chronicle. Now, another rumor from Universal Nintendo is that the Switch 2 will have 12 gigabytes of RAM, ray tracing capabilities, and that it's running DLSS 3.1. But others have said that it's running DLSS 3.5, two different types of DLSS, which is a form of machine learning from NVIDIA. DLSS 2 improves resolution, DLSS 3.1 improves frame rate through frame generation. They all help performance overall, so frame rates can improve. And then 3.5 is for upscaling of ray tracing, which can make those dramatically improved lighting effects even better. And that really is the key point here. The Switch 2 is not going to be something that is going to have raw power surpassing a PlayStation 5. It's going to be a hybrid console, a handheld device. Maybe it clocks up in speeds when it is docked. Maybe the dock potentially even has some additional horsepower in there. I doubt it, but it is possible. But ultimately, it's not going to be as powerful as those systems. But the visual impact, from what we're hearing, is going to be closer to those systems. And a lot of that's going to be thanks to DLSS, which, by the way, recently Doctor81, I'm not sure how he pronounces it, but he has discovered Nintendo job listings showing people that are meant to work on machine learning, AI upscaling, DLSS basically. So it's essentially been confirmed. All these rumors and reports are now in some ways being corroborated by Nintendo's public hirings. Of course, these are the big advancements by NVIDIA. Nintendo and NVIDIA are partnered together, so none of this should really come as any shock. We've also recently discovered that a Nintendo developer in 2023 received a credit for Baldur's Gate 3, a special thanks, and all other credits that they've had in their history. Those games, even when third party, ended up on a Nintendo console. So, I'm not saying that this for sure means that Baldur's Gate 3 is coming to Switch 2, but it does seem to heavily imply that Baldur's Gate 3, a game that does not run on PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, is coming to Switch 2, further suggesting that this power difference, or rather the visual impact, is going to be beyond PlayStation 4 on Switch 2. And when you consider that Switch 2 is going to be a hybrid device, that's what the reports are suggesting, still a handheld device ultimately, it may have the ability to dock and do things like that, that's a big deal. That's huge. Now, I just want to make myself clear, I'm not saying that I expect Switch 2 games to look and run better across the board compared to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that, from what we're hearing, it looks like the Switch 2 will be able to run a lot of modern-day third-party games in a way where they will look and run decent. They won't be completely bastardized versions. In other words, situations like what we're seeing with Mortal Kombat 1, how there is a PS5 version which looks pretty solid, and there is the Switch version which looks like a nightmare. Like, that's not going to happen on Switch 2. And the games will look better than the prior generation. The Switch 2 will be in the realm of current generation platforms. And Nintendo having a system that can have the visual impact in that territory, what it says for actual Nintendo games that they develop, I would say that suggests a lot, because Nintendo's been using underpowered hardware for a very long time, and yet somehow finding a way to make their games look quite beautiful and run pretty well, for the most part. So yes, Switch 2 will have better graphics than PlayStation 4. But I'm sure as the days go on, because it seems like we're getting more and more Switch 2 information multiple times a day at this point, we'll be talking more about this later this week most likely and beyond. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. This is Andre's Restart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.